Hey, good morning, folks. I'm your host, BKP, and we are here at Circuit World in Blue Ridge. Dr. Whaley, it's a little cold.
I want to say it's frost on the pumpkin and the windshield.
Yes, it's a little cold. All right, I had 25 degrees. What did you have?
I had 25 on the porch. Yeah.
On the porch?
Yeah, I think the official in the thing was 27 degrees. But if you're sitting down behind the mountain like me with a lake down there, it's 25. I got it's 25. It was 25 at 5:55. There you go.
Hey, folks.
Oh, and we're still 6 inches behind on rain, and that's the way the year is going to end because it's a beautiful day today, and it's not going to rain today. We're not going to have much more rain between now and New Year's.
You going to do a weather report or ask medical questions?
Medical today.
Okay.
No, I'm going to start off with sports. We're going to start off with sports.
Hold on just a minute. Hey, this is Ask the Doc with Dr. William Whaley, and we want to thank North Georgia Cancer Research Center, affiliated with Northside Hospital, for this segment. Back to you, sir.
All right. Well, first
sports.
We're going to talk about Trump first. Sports is going to be in the top of the first question with the big long words has some sports analogies in it. I wanted to say one thing about this business about you got to turn your phone off when we're in church. Please turn your phone off. It doesn't go bing. We're in church. All right, you ready?
Lonnie, we read this text is from one of our viewers wanting to know they can't get the show up. Got it. Move on.
All right, that's a technology problem at their end, right?
Maybe.
All right. Okay. Now, I've never heard this analogy made, and I want to make it very clear. The House of Representatives you should consider as a district court. It has tried the case, and it has come to a judgment. I would look upon the U.S. Senate as the appeals court or the Supreme Court. When a case goes from district court to the appeals court, they operate off the court record. They do not add witnesses.
Oh, you're making my morning already.
They do not add witnesses. Now remember, I've got patients on the Georgia Court of Appeals, and my brother's on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, the Federal Court of Appeals. They only review the record, and they cannot review anything else because they are there to appeal what happened here, not to retry it.
So let me do the same thing because you're right. So what you're saying is the House of Representatives submitted 2 articles.
That's a trial court. And had two.
They had the witnesses. They had their testimony.
You're guilty of speeding and driving a stolen car.
And they presented 2 articles, and they were voted on, and that was the verdict. Is it passed?
Yeah. Why don't you call it speeding and driving a stolen car? So it's crimes and misdemeanors. It is.
Right. So
when somebody says articles, it doesn't have that crimes and misdemeanors, crimes and whatever it is.
So what I'm getting at is, if you have a court case and there's a verdict and it's found that you're guilty of these 2 things, that's basically what it said. You could appeal.
Right.
But you can only appeal. They will only review the evidence that was submitted in the case.
Correct.
That's it.
That's it.
You can't enter new evidence.
You cannot. In the appeals court or the Supreme Court. You were making that statement about passing the articles over. But so anyway, there is no such thing as new witnesses.
All right. Lost my producer.
That's okay. You ready to start showing slides?
Yeah, I'm ready to start showing slides.
That's right. He's coming back. He's in good shape. All right, now get into that first one because we're in great shape here.
My sister is 24 years old and healthy. She has had funny rashes that come up time and time again, and once had allergy testing that was positive for mold and pollens. Now she wheezes and has too many eosinophils in her blood, and her doctor sent her to a blood specialist. What is this about? Is it cancer?
Well, first of all, it's not cancer, but put up that first one and don't put it on the side where people can look at it and still see BKP's smiling face.
Wow.
If you'll notice, this is sort of a joke here. It says NAACP. All right, you see that?
Yes.
That's the National Association for the Advancement of Cells Colored Pink. Eosinophil is a color, pink. All right? When I was talking to my staff about this question yesterday, I had registered nurses, laboratory people. Now, you know, those are educated people, and people who send the bills and do the scheduling of things. So they're all highly technical people. There was almost uniform lack of appreciation for what an eosinophil is and what it does. So I'm going to give that sports analogy I was talking about. If you'll look at today's newspaper, it says University of Georgia might not play as good in the bowl game, and some of these other schools, even LSU, might not play as well in the bowl game because certain people are not going to play. Now, are they not going to play because they got suspended for smoking pot? Why are they not going to play?
Injuries.
No, ones that are perfectly
okay.
healthy.
I don't know.
Yes, you do. They're holding themselves out to go into the NFL draft.
Oh, okay.
Primarily early,
right.
So they don't get hurt. Okay,
I get it.
All right, now who is the appreciated members of a football team that would do that and say, boy, it's going to badly affect the team? It'd be a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, linebacker. It would be a cornerback or a safety.
All right.
Who is the unappreciated member of a football team? Nobody knows their names, and that when they lay out for this game, probably will affect it more than a wide receiver or anybody else. Your offensive lineman, that 325-pound guy who wears the knee braces that nobody can remember his name. Well, at the University of Georgia, that's who's laying out. A great big lineman that protects the quarterback, protects the wide receivers. Now let's go back to the eosinophil. The eosinophil is one of the white blood cells. So you've got segmented polys, you've got basophils, you got lymphocytes. We've heard the lymphocytes. You got lymphoma, you got gamma globulin.
Right.
We're going to talk about that in a minute. The eosinophil's in there. Everybody knows it's in there, but they don't know what the heck it does. So that's what this first thing here, Lonnie, it's up there, right? All right, so the eosinophils are these cells that people don't understand well. They are associated with allergy, inflammation, and so forth. And if you read this question, she's had funny rashes. We're going to come to the rash in a minute. She's had allergy testing, so she had allergy testing. That must mean she's and allergic to pollens and stuff. Well, they didn't say it, but that means she's got allergies up here, right?
Right.
Running nose and stuff. And now she wheezes. Well, wheezes, that sounds like asthma or something in the lungs, doesn't it? Well, that's skin, that's head and neck, that's a lot of stuff. So this eosinophil can be out of whack with, there you go, lymphoma.
Right.
People with lymphoma, we know about that. Allergies, that's skin rash or up here. Asthma, parasite infections. Well, we don't see near as many of those as we used to, but in an area like we're in now, 10 or 15 years ago, it would not have been uncommon for a grammar school to have a whole bunch of kids with, say, pinworms. Or you were raised up north, but Lonnie was raised down south, and I was raised down south. And in my day, this is when I talk about the early 1940s, a lot of kids went barefoot from about April to about the end of September because of sort of like Loretta Lynn and Coal Miner's Daughter, because of economics. And they had hookworm, which they got through their feet from wandering around the mountains and stuff where there was dirt on the ground. So in my training, when you would see eosinophils on a blood smear, which we had to look at, you would immediately look for pinworms and different types of infestations with parasites. I haven't seen a parasite infestation in 20 years. But anyway, so these different things are all sort of inflammatory, aren't they? blowing your nose, asthma, and all of that. All right, take that one down, Lonnie, and go over here to the next one. I always, pardon me, I always like to put this official sign up here, which is going to drive you nuts. And I know you did your homework, so
Lonnie said I did my homework. I didn't.
you did part of your homework.
I did. Yeah.
All right, but if you go down here,
I'm not ready for the test. Let's put it
all
like
right, but what does that say? Cholesterol.
Cholesterol,
yeah.
yes.
Radiation, drugs. Now, all the infections, HIV, funguses. So I mean, this seems to touch every medical category, doesn't
Right.
it? I mean, from cholesterol, for crying in the night, radiation, just everywhere. Plus, idiopathic, this means this is all related to the eosinophil itself. So I'm going to try and make this poor lady feel a little bit better. First of all, it's not cancer. If you look at this long list of about 30 things, only one small category has anything to do with cancer. And you would already have the diagnosis of cancer, lymphoma,
Right.
and there's not any other cancer. So if there's not any evidence of a lymphoma here, don't worry about your sister. And your sister's young enough to where she has given you the idea that she's got some sort of an inflammatory process going on in her body because she's had skin rashes, she's had allergies in her head and neck, and now she's got asthma and she's wheezing. All right, well, let's go to this next one. It mentions, because the reason I want to show this one is it's big enough to see. We're going to stick to a couple of things first. Skin disorders, and then this one here says, what's that word right there?
Pulmonary.
Okay.
Pulmonary.
All right, so it had said asthma under the allergies. Now, this is not an allergy, but this Loeffler's pulmonary syndrome. So show that next one. This is not going to show up terribly well, but I don't think there's anybody we've ever seen who hadn't got somebody in their family or somebody they know who's had this kind of a scratchy thing on their
Right.
leg or their arm, or they got this kind of, this looks like housewives'
Yes.
dermatitis, doesn't it?
Yes.
All right, show that next one. This is the guy who goes down to the emergency room and he's wheezing and coughing and he doesn't have a fever, and they x-ray him and they say, you look like you've got the walking pneumonia. Mm-hmm. You can pull that down now if you want. Now, how often have we heard about somebody who's got walking pneumonia? Often. So that x-ray right there that's got these little patchy infiltrates on both sides, if that was walking pneumonia, you'd expect them to have a significant fever. Cough would be a primary thing. But when they did that blood count, you have to never go to the emergency room or the urgent care center with a cough and an x-ray that they don't do a blood test, right?
Right. Exactly.
When they soon as did that blood test, they said, my gosh, there's thousands of eosinophils. Well, they're immediately going to come off the walking pneumonia, or you've got the flu, to you've got some sort of an allergic or some sort of an inflammatory or eosinophilic, because it's in your blood, pulmonary disorder. So your sister probably has allergy, maybe some sort of autoimmunity, like the kids that get skin rashes from certain foods, eczema, asthma, various forms of real peanut allergy I wouldn't use, but people who have really exaggerated allergic reactions to various foods. So your sister doesn't have a malignancy. Your sister most likely has some sort of a complicated allergic phenomenon, and the reason they went to the blood doctor is that the rare number of eosinophilic disorders that are associated primarily with eosinophils will require that they do some special blood tests and maybe even a bone marrow. So don't worry about her having cancer. Worry about her having some sort of an allergic problem that's going to have to be worked out. Is that good enough?
Good enough.
All right.
Hey, folks, if you'd like to send Dr. Whaley, hey, Jeremy?
Yes, sir.
Circuit World? Can we get a truck over here in the window?
Yeah.
It's been a while since the sun has come up this early. It's going to be a beautiful sunny day.
I thought that God was shining on us.
Well, He is, but I mean, I need my shade, and usually what happens is He'll pull a truck right there to get my shade for me.
All right.
All right, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, that's good. I'm happy to hear about it. I know about the truck. Remember, I've been here before at 8 o'clock in the morning. All right, go ahead.
Hey, folks, if you'd like to send Dr. Whaley a question, hey, it's live TV, man. If you'd like to send Dr. Whaley a question, you could do that by sending it to info, I-N-F-O, at Fetch Your News. Put in the subject line, Ask the Doc. We'll get it to Dr. Whaley. Also, don't forget, you can put a question on any of our social media pages that you see Dr. Whaley Ask the Doc advertised. Again, we want to thank North Georgia Cancer Research Center, affiliated with Northside Hospital, for this segment. Dr. Whaley, I read that there is worldwide shortage of gamma globulin. I wanted that. I was trying to get it to. I was trying to get globulin.
You did a good job here.
Gamma globulin. There's a worldwide shortage of gamma globulin, and my father was taking it a few years ago when he was treated for lymphoma. What happens if he needs it again? What in the world are they talking about?
Well, I got to tell you, it's a really good question, because right now, in my office and in every other physician's office in the United States, we are having to rank the severity of the condition that would be treated with gamma globulin, and some people at the bottom of the acuity spectrum are not getting the drug. This worldwide shortage is not a joke. It's one of those situations that you can't impact, because the regulatory system of pharmaceuticals. I'm all for Trump letting people import drugs from Canada, for example, to lower the cost of drugs. I'm all for generic or bioequivalency in drugs that lower the cost of some of these drugs that are $10,000 a month. But just like we had when we had the flu epidemic and we had a shortage of flu vaccine a few years ago, that shortage of flu vaccine was because people were suing the manufacturers of the flu vaccine that there was an adverse outcome from the flu and costing the manufacturers so much money that they couldn't make the flu vaccine and make a profit. So the business with the gamma globulin is that it's a very complicated and expensive thing to make, and when they take the profit out of it by making it, suing people or whatever, you can't produce it. So there is a worldwide shortage. What this question says was, I don't think your father's ever going to need it again, because we use it during treatment of lymphoma while you're being treated, and once you get over that, you don't need it anymore. So what I'm going to do now is just talk about gamma globulin so people know what this is all about. When I went to Vietnam, I got 2 shots of gamma globulin in my sit-down place of 11 cc's each. Now that's a big old hunk. Now,
right.
And that hurt like the devil. And that was because there was a lot of hepatitis in Vietnam, and just about everybody who went into Vietnam had to have that shot. And that's, people my age then will remember this big painful fanny that lasted for several weeks, and that was their introduction to gamma globulin. So first of all, put that little sign up that talks about globulins. There's just all kinds of globulins in your body, and gamma is just one. We're not going to be able to see too good here, but the thing that stimulates your thyroid is called thyroglobulin, and just about every hormone in the body is bound to a protein that's in the globulin family. Okay, put up that next one that shows that nice lady there. Here's what this person is talking about. You'll be familiar with this picture here. This is a woman who is receiving IV gamma globulin in an infusion center these infusion centers, we are run primarily by people like me, but this IV gamma globulin might be being given by a neurologist to somebody who has a paralytic disorder called Guillain-Barré, might be being given by a rheumatologist to somebody with rheumatoid arthritis. So take that down. That's what they're talking about, IV gamma globulin there. So now we're going to get into the science, which we won't do too much, but you recognize that picture because we've shown that before. You remember what that is, of course, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Multiple myeloma, remember? We talked about that a week ago. A month ago, we talked about monoclonal gammopathy of uncertain significance. We talked about light chains in the urine. So this is a normal gamma globulin molecule. And this big part down here is the heavy chain part, and that part's the part that binds to the antigen, but that is what gamma globulin is. Pull that down. Now, everybody who's watching this for education, that was your chemistry for today. Put up the next one. Gamma globulin is sort of like aspirin. I mean, you use it for morphine. You use it for so many things, it's hard to make a list. But this next one, you don't have to pay a whole lot of attention to it, is what the FDA has approved the use of gamma globulin for. And that's a limited amount of disorders. But if you look at it, only one of them in the deal there is related to lymphoma. Everything else, ITP, that's platelets that go down and people bleed. That's really a not uncommon disorder. And the very first treatment, it tends to be because they've had an infection and an antibody, is to give them gamma globulin. They don't have a gamma globulin deficiency. It's just that a high dose of gamma globulin will overwhelm the antibodies that they've got in there that are affecting their platelets and remove it. It's also used in multiple sclerosis, nerve degenerative disease. High dose of gamma globulin may slow whatever poorly understood autoimmune disorder is causing multiple sclerosis. It's done with HIV. It's done after you've been given a bone marrow transplant. It's done with various forms of infection. So IV gamma globulin is used for many, many, many different disorders. You can pull that down and leave that. Don't put the next one up yet. It's used for many, many disorders that the FDA has approved it for. Now, we have in the past talked about off-label indications, which means using a drug for a purpose that you know it works, but that the FDA has never approved it for. And you're old enough to remember when we were using aspirin in coronary heart disease, say dad had an angina or dad had a mini stroke and they put him on aspirin. Well, we knew that aspirin would inhibit the platelet function, but that was not an FDA-approved indication for aspirin. You remember that? Mm-hmm. Well, in the last couple of years, the FDA has approved aspirin for that purpose. So put up that next one because it's gonna, at the right-hand side, if they can read that, off-label indications. Well, if you just look at the FDA-approved indications on the left and look how long the list is, and then look how long the list is on the opposite side for off-label indications, that's the concept. Pull it down now, so I don't want to confuse people. But most gamma globulin is given for diseases that it is not FDA approved for. You understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that legal?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's legal.
Okay.
Does insurance pay for it?
No.
Not only is it legal, but the insurance will pay for it if there is a substantial body of scientific evidence of placebo-controlled trials that are peer-reviewed. Remember those concepts. What does peer-reviewed mean?
I don't know.
Okay.
Other doctors.
That's correct. That's where this conspiracy theorist that sits right here and talks about the immunizations causing autism and calling all the rest of that, that's not peer-reviewed, is it? That's not supported by scientific, rigidly done experimental trials. I've said that before, haven't I?
Yes.
All right, so we're we're into the concepts now of what you do medically. FDA is very difficult to get to approve things, and to get them to approve it, you've got to have tens of thousands of cases usually, and then the off-label indications are indications where the case numbers are smaller, but it's crystal clear if you do it versus not do it, the people that you give it to get better, and the hazard-benefit ratio is far on the side of benefit and not hazard. So once you can prove that to people, to your peers, meaning it's not your partners, what they mean by peer review is you get an institution like Emory or Georgia
Right.
Cancer, and the people that review it are the MD Anderson and the Memorial Sloan Kettering and sort of competitors, if you say, or peers in their field who say, well, that's true. I agree with this data, and therefore we will let them publish it in our journal. So what you've got here now is the concept of peer review. Mm-hmm. You've got the concept of science that can be statistically proven. Then you've got published in a recognized scientific journal, not published in the some mimeograph thing
Right.
on the internet. So back to the gamma globulin. Most of the actual uses of gamma globulin today are in those things that it really helps, but their frequency is so low that you can't get tens of thousands. So I'm not going to make you do any big stuff, but that one's called polymyositis. You ain't heard a lot of people had that. Your cousin hadn't had that, has he?
No.
All right, graft versus host disease following bone marrow or stem cell transplant. Well, the number of people that get a stem cell transplant is kind of small, right? So then graft versus host disease is going to be even smaller than that. So, and that's a very serious disorder. That's where where you've gotten a bone marrow transplant from somebody else, and that bone marrow now is trying to hurt you because it wasn't yours. It recognizes you as foreign. So what we're doing here is saying that don't worry about Dad. He's not going to need it anymore. But that opened up the Pandora's box of why would he need it in the first place and what is gamma globulin. So I think I went beyond what the question was, but that's my that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Hey, you know what? Full detail. At first, I didn't realize how serious, worldwide shortage of gamma globulin. Thinking, okay, what's a worldwide shortage? How come we haven't heard that? But this is very serious, and I appreciate the detail.
Well, you do remember when we couldn't get a flu shot?
Right.
Okay, that was worldwide. That's worldwide shortage because they can produce flu vaccine in Canada or Singapore or somewhere. But this shortage has got to get fixed, and you don't hear Trump trying to fix it. I mean, it's not his to fix.
Right.
So, but it's got to get fixed. We've got to have gamma globulin. So it's a serious issue, but don't worry about your dad.
Folks at home, if you would like to send Dr. Whaley a question, don't forget you can send it to info@fetchernews.com. Put in the subject line, Ask the Doc. We always thank North Georgia Cancer Research Center, affiliated with Northside Hospital, for this segment. We appreciate you very much. And at this time, every week, you share something with us of interest and what is most recent in the medical field today. So what?
Well, I'll tell you, when we were blinded by the light a little bit earlier, I left all my papers over there on the side that I had printed off for you each week, about 15 different things. But interestingly, what's being hyped right now in this country particularly is the miracle drug that is going to make your hair grow and you can lose 50 pounds by taking it, and all of your aches and pains are going to go away, and your behavior is going to be better, and you're going to be better looking, and your mama's going to like you. What is it? CBD oil and pot.
Oh yeah,
and
it's
THC.
I got you. Yeah,
there is
I was wondering if it was true, but you're right. It doesn't matter what. They're trying to sell it. You know what it reminds me of? And I didn't mean to interrupt you. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of I'm going to call it the 80s when what was that? Aloe vera was supposed to do everything.
Aloe vera pretty good for
No,
the burn.
it is. I'm not saying
anyway.
it's not,
good.
but remember aloe vera, that's what it reminds me of. Now CBD oil, right? That's what it is?
Or THC laced CBD oil,
but
even better, man.
It doesn't matter what they were running. Go ahead, I didn't mean to interrupt you, because I was
You're
thinking
on,
the same thing.
You are on track. Of the 6 biggest things that were in the news today is always the vaping thing.
Right.
So we were I really believe, in terms of what I know about publication or education, I don't know anybody that was talking about vaping before we did here.
I agree.
I honestly don't. And now you've got federal laws that are coming in that they won't sell vaping products to people that are under the age of 21. You've got whole states and cities that are banning vaping in any location. So 2 or 3 of the things that were in the big news this week is, one, people with depression are now going to the CBD oil and hoping they can find the CBD oil with the THC in it, because the internet, that great source of scientific, peer-reviewed medical information, has told the depressed people of the world that CBD oil laced with THC is going to be good for their depression. Well, I know for an absolute fact that none of the peer-reviewed studies of marijuana products itself, when we were studying it for nausea, pain, and everything else, had any beneficial effects on depression. It actually had causative effects of depression. So I'd like to blow that one out of the water. And then the fact that the whole country is beginning to recognize that the only place that vaping is a worthy thing is with a legitimate nicotine-containing product, no THC, no CBD oil, in the hands of an adult. Generally, that adult's probably going to be in their late 20s or longer, because they will have smoked enough to be hooked enough to where the patches and the gum and the drugs did not help them get off of tobacco. And the risk of a good nicotine-containing vape product in an already addicted cigarette smoker, there the hazard-benefit ratio now tilts to where the benefit outweighs the hazard. And you shouldn't let anybody who's not addicted to tobacco go buy that product in the first place. Am I making some sense? Otherwise, you got some teenager at 19 or 20 who's going to start vaping and get hooked on nicotine. That's not its purpose. That might have been the purpose of some of the people that were manufacturing it, but it's scientific, peer-reviewed, worthwhile product is the heavily addicted nicotine user who cannot stop smoking, and has tried everything from cold turkey to gum and patches.
Yeah, but to me, that wouldn't be enough. They could say what they want, but that wouldn't be enough to keep their business model going if it got down to narrow. But you're correct. I understand what you're saying.
All right, I want to focus the next one on this portion of the state of Georgia. Yesterday, a manufacturer of deviled egg products and products of that type, which are sold huge now this time of year for, your parties and stuff, has got listeria contamination. There's been, I think, 1 or 2 deaths in North Georgia already, and they shut down the manufacturer yesterday. He's in Gainesville, Georgia. So I'm going to tell you, don't buy deviled egg products and take them to your office party for at least in the next 3 to 5 days. Make them yourself.
Make them yourself. Well, I'm glad I'll have to ask, because first thing if I go in and I see a tray of deviled eggs.
Me too.
That's that.
Were they? Well, now if they were made over here in the Ingalls or made on site,
If
that's
they
fine.
make them on site, right? I see
When
what
I say
you're
make them yourself, made on site's fine. But don't buy the
package.
I don't think if you went to for example, if you stop at the I'm not going to use a name. If you stop at one of the gas stations,
Yes.
that's not made on site.
No.
No, if you go to the Kroger or the Ingalls or the Rayway or whatever they're called, we don't have any Piggly Wigglies anymore, do we? But if you go in one of those where those ladies are back there making the chicken salad and all, you can eat those.
Got it.
All right.
Well, before we close, first of all, Dr. Whaley, I want to say we will see. You're Ty. Thank you this year, 2019. Thank you.
Been fun,
We'll be back the next time we get together with this audience. Will be 2020, and we look forward to 2020 next year.
I never thought I'd see 2020. Seriously.
All right.
I'm 80 in the first couple of weeks of 2020.
First couple weeks.
Yeah, February 12th, actually.
All right. So
I mean, I'm an old man, aren't I?
that wasn't where I was going with this. Wasn't going there, but what I want to do from fyntv.com, fetchernews.com, you come every week and you provide this audience with some great information, and we appreciate that. And you work so hard to research all these questions and make sure you thoroughly answer them. We want to say thank you. Merry Christmas.
Festivus.
But no, it's Christmas. I wore my Festivus shirt last year. So
right,
Merry
Thank
Christmas. You and your family enjoy the holidays together, and we hope. Are you traveling? May I ask?
I'm traveling to Atlanta for 2 days. I'm back here, and then I'm getting my hip replaced on January 2nd.
There you go.
Right.
That's your Christmas present.
Christmas present to myself.
New
Yeah,
hip.
new hip,
Thank
yeah.
you, Dr. Whaley.
Right.
We want to thank North Georgia Cancer Research Center, affiliated with Northside Hospital, for this segment. We appreciate you this past year for sponsoring this segment. And folks, great information. Go to our YouTube channel, fetchyournews.com, Fetch Your News, FYNTV YouTube channel. Look for the playlist, Ask the Doc. All this information is there. Every one of these questions you could share with family and friends. If we've answered something that you need, hey, I need to send this to mom, dad, or my sister or cousin. All of them are there. And again, if you'd like to send the doc a question, ask the doc. Put it in the subject line, ask the doc. Send it to info@fetchernews.com. Thank you again. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We'll see you next year.
All right.
New hip and all.
New hip and all.
Take us out here, Lonnie.
Well, that was nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh.
We set a world record this morning.